Printed, I will deliver it to the desk of each board member tomorrow for review. I'd like to put it on the agenda for the May for review. Actually, I'd like to make a resolution that we go to a public meeting for review and adoption of the ethics policy. If I can get it reviewed tomorrow or tonight, get it printed out, get it sent out to the board. We can public notice it in time. I can get the, delivered to the council. It's an updated ethics policy. Again, as we've been talking over the last 6 to 8 weeks, the current policy is from 1970. Bill Little's put a ton of work into it. Actually I have nothing more than I can hand anybody, but...
Anybody else on the ethics committee work on it other than Bill Little?
I'd have to ask Bill. I don't think so. I don't know. So I guess with that, I'd like to make a motion to put out for publication a public notice in the Gazette that will be open an open meeting next week or next board meeting to review and discuss the ethics policy.
If I can get it in.
I think I only need 5 days.
No, 10. Actually, you need 11 because you can't count the day that you're having it for law or a public hearing.
Right. Well, and the reason I said that, Carol, if I can't do it, we can't do it, but Peter said
well, no. Is that the 8th?
Yes, ma'am. Well, we'll give it a shot and see what we do.
11.
I mean, if we can't, Carol, maybe we can make the next agenda meeting an open meeting too, the 22nd of May. That's probably actually a little bit better, a little more reasonable.
You're give or take 24 hours. So,
Any objection to the board having an open meeting on the next agenda meeting, an open public meeting at the next agenda meeting?
Like beforehand?
Yeah.
you actually.
No, it gives a little room.
Okay.
So we're going to do it a month from now.
Yep. May 22nd. So, do I have a resolution to, or do I have a motion, sorry,
And that's to discuss it.
to public notice it
To discuss it.
and pass?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Why don't we just do all together? We don't have to do a roll. Now we have to do a roll. Like we'll have to do a roll call if you pass this, but you can just do a nay.
2 thumbs up, count?
You're all good.
Yep.
Okay.
So next on the agenda, monolith solar panels. Did I get that right? Over up, Stacy. And Stacy. So just to set the stage here, baseline this a little bit. So about 3 weeks ago on the Sunday paper, Gazette, there was a pretty good article about solar power. The leading picture was there of lighting key movers there putting on their building. A lot of people are doing it. In the article, there was a follow-up on the town of Mechanicsville, who have engaged Monolith, I guess, to put solar panels on their public buildings. So what we're asking Stacy to do is make a presentation to the town. It's at no cost, which would be a pretty interesting piece.
Stacy's presentation?
No cost to the, yeah, I hope so. The solar panels, so there's no charge to the town, but obviously enter into what, 2-year agreement?
I do. It is actually it's a longer term than that. Start from the beginning.
You're gonna have to speak up just a little.
I'll yell. Okay, how this works is there is no cost at all to the town. It is a 20-year term. For a 20-year term, it's a 25% off of the current electric rate for this particular building. What we were proposing, because of the way the roof is structured and the direction it's facing, it's really not ideal. So what we were proposing is a ground mount right along between the Trooper building and the town hall. What we were able to do with NYSERDA, what they do is they allow up to 50,000 watts for free for municipalities, nonprofits, and businesses at no cost. But your usage isn't that high. It's actually only, your usage in this building is about half that. So we could cover the usage for this building 100% just on solar at no cost, with 25% off savings off the current rate. It's simple.
What if we turned over, or could you forecast if we turned over our heat to electric?
At that point, what we would be able to do is increase the size.
That's
Your
what?
usage, we would be able to increase the size if your usage increases and you have 1 meter. This is all based on 1 meter per meter, 50,000 watts per meter. From my understanding, this building is running on 1 meter, this facility. So you have another 24,000 watts that we could increase if your usage increases.
So would there be a way to forecast what we're using in BTUs versus into?
Well, we're actually getting into thermal and other realms recently too. We'd have to base that on your usage, your current usage of heat. That's something we have to calculate. There's all kinds of formulas with this, with our engineers, and there are a lot of structural people involved that we pay for all of those costs. We get paid from NYSERDA, that's why there's no cost to you. So there's a lot entailed as far as structural, proper engineering, building permits, but that all falls on my list. Not with you.
Sorry.
No, questions?
Karen?
Yeah.
Joe and I met with Stacy and, what was his name?
Steve Irving, who's the vice
Irving,
president.
a couple weeks ago. She explained all this stuff. City of Mechanicsville is using this right now, and I guess, I don't think they installed it in Niskayuna, but I understand that they are under some type of this agreement. Did you do Niskayuna?
We did the Niskayuna. We actually signed all of Schenectady County. We were doing all of their municipal buildings. The Niskayuna Town Hall is currently running on a ground mount. They just went live, I believe, a month and a half ago.
Oh, the city of Mechanicsville is putting it in their Department of Transportation building. They're doing it in their city hall and their senior citizens housing. I guess they've already done it in
Rensselaer, Skodak, Mechanicville, Schenectady County.
and you can install them on Jack Burns Ford,
Yes, I actually have some
And,
pictures in there for
Sienna
DCN
Furniture,
furniture, all three
and
buildings.
Hannah, is it Hannah's Golf?
Amy's Golf Cart.
Right.
We're also on Best Fitness right here at Crosstown Plaza in Schenectady. And I'm currently working on a proposal with Planet Fitness for 15 locations. As a nonprofit or municipal, there really are no tax breaks for you. So that's why you get it for free. As a business, a small business, they have the option to purchase, but they get the depreciation and the tax write-offs. So
Stacy, can you explain it to us over here, because Joe and I already know about this, but for the rest of the board, how this actually works, where you install the panels, no charge to the town.
we own,
You
maintain,
maintain
install. Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you maintain the panels, the
Yes.
solar panels, you install them, you do all of the maintenance work on them, and then we purchase the power from you at Joe and I were under the impression it was a 30% discount.
NYSERDA changed that. I apologize, Steve did misspeak that day, but it's a 25% off. The incentives with NYSERDA decrease, they never increase. There's only so much funding available. And as the systems become more and more affordable, they're slowly getting people to lean off of that. So it is 25% off the current electric rates which I'd have to calculate what that is.
And there's no outlay of cost for the
Nothing.
town.
Absolutely.
To decide to do this. No
Absolutely.
outlay of the cost for the
And
town.
Chris Gardner is the Schenectady County attorney. So he, if anyone needs to, he's more than willing to back that up.
Well, Joe and I have been invited to Mechanicsville. Their account manager has asked us to come over and take a look at their buildings, of what they're, Jack Burns is going to show us around. But some of the questions that we had, maybe you can explain it to the town, to the rest of the board. If, for some reason,
There's a
your
roof
company
leak.
folds,
Mhm.
sells, what happens to the panels? And then, could you explain that to the rest of the board?
Yes, because we're still in the wild, wild west with solar, even though it's been around for a while. It's just starting to catch on. And now we have federal funding and everyone's, they want it. Everyone's hungry for it because they want to get away from the grid and save money. If Monolith were to sell, which we have no intention on, but if we were, the new owner or the company or the corporation would own, maintain, they would continue the lease terms for all the existing contracts.
Right.
That's how that would, it's grandfathered, everyone's protected, it would just be carried
This would
over
be in the contract.
to the new ownership. No, I honestly don't think that's in there, we have no intention of selling.
Long time.
It is, but.
Basic contract law would stipulate how all that would work, so I mean, they would have to honor any contracts in place.
Right, everyone's pretty much, they're covered. It's NYSERDA funding. This is not just mom and pop open a solar company and, good luck with it.
Can you give us some background about the owners of the company?
Absolutely. Our CEO is he's an engineer, and Steve, he actually owned a construction company, and the two of them were kind of both, they're friends. They were shopping around for alternate ways to save, and they both discovered renewable energy, and they looked into windmill, and that didn't work for them. So then they looked further into solar, and the more they looked into it, they realized this is something they were very passionate about and wanted to start a company. And we actually, our company was started out of a den, 10 by 10 den, 3 years ago. We moved into the kitchen, and then just recently out of the garage. That's how mom and pop this was, but it's taking off, and we're blanketing the capital district. People are fed up with the high rates, with National Grid and ISEG, and this is a great option.
So
How many
we're at
employees
20
do you have?
years?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Jeff, sorry.
How many employees do you have?
We're up to 26, and we are ready to triple our force because we have so many systems now that we have banks coming to us that want to fund us. We were just down in Washington, D.C. on Thursday in front of Congress. Out of the entire country, we're the only solar company invited to testify as to why we would like to continue, why we need this funding, because people are very interested. So we went and pretty much carved the way, and now we have banks calling to back us up because they want to see this grow.
If we decided to do this, and this is just, we're only in preliminary stages of looking into this. If down the road we decided to purchase, is that possible?
Doesn't make sense because you do not get the depreciation, nor do you get the tax breaks. Just like a nonprofit.
So what happens after 20 years?
After 20 years, you can buy the system for $1, or we can go, depending on where we are, new systems will be available, new contractual agreements will be available.
What's the end of life on?
These are 30 years, they're about 30. So they'll still continue to produce. They won't be 100% efficient, but they will still work.
So the contract term, was it 20 years, is that what you said?
It's 20 years for 25% off. 10 years would be 20% off. NYSERDA requires a minimum of 5 years to even look to approve, because it's an investment on their behalf.
The percent off is based upon
Your current electric rates.
today, or?
Current electric rate on the last 12 months of usage from National
For
Grid.
20 years going forward, we're going to pay 25% less than what we're paying today.
Yes, you will always, what will happen is as the rates fluctuate, so you will always be 25% under what the current rate is. They
So
do
you're
fluctuate
saying-
just like the market.
So it's not
Today.
locked in at the current rate as of today, 25%.
Not today.
It's,
The current rate, as the market fluctuates, you'll always be under.
And who's your longest standing current municipal customer?
is the city of Rensselaer. They actually bought the system because they sold it to them first for peanuts. It was their first system ever. Mayor Daniel Dwyer, blanketed the city of Rensselaer about 3 years ago.
And do you have any private customers that are longer than that?
Longer than the 3? No, but we do have, I think the next first system will be after that for private. I'd have to look into that honestly, because there are so many accounts, there's so many salespeople, and I don't know all the accounts.
And did anyone do any analysis of the other property we own next door and whether this would make sense
No,
for that?
because we suggested it to them, and the system that they designed would take care of that, and we spoke with the state police, and they were going to let us know who was in charge of their electric bills, but they haven't gotten back to us yet, because if they could do both, the panels were going to be, the solar panels were going to be lined up between the properties,
Continuous.
and they were going to be long enough for, adequate enough to do both buildings on a separate feed. Am I correct?
Absolutely, yes. They may have multiple meters too, I'm not sure, each property varies.
You also did say that we were right at the borderline of, and I don't think anybody knows it, we're on a time of use meter right now. Am I correct? Time that our electric meters are, from what he said.
I'm not sure.
In other words, you're charged more.
Demand?
It's a
Yes.
demand meter.
Your
Yes, we're on a
usage.
demand meter, excuse me, a demand meter. And if we could get that lower, we could still lower our electric rate. Am I correct?
Right.
We're just over the limit.
Yep, if you're just barely over the limit, it takes 4 months to get on demand. It takes 12 months to get off.
12 months to get on.
So that's the key. And there's a fire department down in Waterford. We actually have their bills. They're running 100% on solar right now. Since the system was installed, our original proposal covered their usage about 70–75%. But because when the system went on, they became more cognizant of their usage. They started shutting lights down and turning the TVs off when they left the room. They're now running 110% and getting a $90 check back every month from National Grid. So if you are, and they were on demand too, what you have to do is stay off of, keep your usage below that demand level for 12 consecutive months, and then that fee goes away. And that's usually a couple $100 and up per month of savings in itself. So what they're doing now is they kind of cheat a little. They put a generator on as a backup for a couple of things, but they're off demand now.
What is what's the amount that you're supposed to use to put you on a demand meter?
It varies. There is no set number. National Grid determines based on location and prior history, prior usage, square
So
footage.
if we could get that down, we would be saving more money too.
Yes, absolutely. Because demand is really, they hit you hard. It's a large fee usually. And if you're that close, if you're on the brink, I don't think, this would cover you at 100%. Your usage is low in this building. You're only at 26,305 kilowatt hours. We can cover you up to 50.
There's a couple of questions in the audience. None?
I was answered. I was interested about the state police building too.
I have a question. What happens like in the winter months?
When it snows,
Yeah.
unlike this past winter, which is ideal,
And, yeah, is it,
what happens is, first of all, the PV panels, the modules actually protect the current roof. They take the brunt of the elements, the rain, the hail, the snow. They also protect from the UV rays that are penetrating that roof, which over time break the roof down. When it does snow, the system will be blanketed and it will shut down until it starts to melt. They're always generating power, therefore there's always some kind of heat. There's a little bit of heat always kicking off of these. So if you look at a roof that has a pitched solar array, and then next door you see a pitched roof, you'll always see the snow completely melted off of the modules before you see it off of the roof next door that doesn't have a solar panel.
so if there was like, a huge snowstorm?
Until
it
it
would take care
starts,
of it.
yep, because what happens is, on a pitched roof it's better. Because what happens is with gravity, the snow will start to slide off. As it slides off, those panels, there's a little bit exposed of, a little sunlight exposed at the top of the module. that will kick the whole system on, which will then heat it up a little bit, just enough to get that snow melted quicker. But you cannot touch these things. People think, especially with residential, that I can get up on my roof and go shovel that snow right off and get that thing at 100%. You cannot do that. It does take care of itself.
If it's on the ground, and you do have a very large accumulation of snow, it would gather on the ground so it can't melt as quickly. Could it be plowed and removed?
But you can shovel.
On the ground, yeah.
As a ground mount?
Yeah,
Yes, that you can do.
so you can help
just
yourself to get room to let it go down.
Well, and then I was thinking too, I mean, if there was an excessive amount, now you've got all the melting. Now you've got all the water that's kind of.
Well, it's whatever would have
too, you know.
taken the, I mean, these are, it depends on the, there's a lot of things that go into the pitch. As a general rule, a roof will be pitched anywhere between 2 and 7%, very subtle. Ground mounts depends on this particular location here, happens to be on a hill, which is ideal. Because then the snow would just melt right down to the base, which is where the plows would probably put the snow anyway.
Stacy, after you've looked over our bills, what do you anticipate our savings to be?
Probably at least 3,000 a year, approximately, give or take. So your usage is not that high.
Can you touch on the piece about the number of meters again?
For this location, you have, well, actually,